a video on Cumberland Sauce, which is really nice to go with cooked meats and pates and those type of things. It should be made with red currant jelly as the base for it, and then you add some mustard and some powdered ginger, and you add some port and some orange and some lemon zest, and then kind of put it in a jar and leave it to marinate. However, at the end of Christmas, with the catering, I've always got a little bit of odds and sods of cranberry sauce left over. So I normally make it with the cranberry sauce instead of the red currant. And then also I've been kind of going through the cupboards as well, and I've got some jars, a bit of this and a bit of that. I've got some cheap marmalade, which I did something with, I can't remember what. So I'm thinking that's going to go in. And then I've got this jar of quince paste. I kind of thought, well, that's never been opened and it's probably past its sell by date, so that's going to go in. And then I've got some pomegranate molasses, which I had a faff around with. I thought that can go in. And then we've got some I didn't buy a bottle of port. Oh yeah, we've got some, I think that's fig. I think that's a fig chutney as well, so that can go in. And then we've got these little bottles of port, which I was given a couple of years ago. How many years ago? It hasn't got a sell by date on it, it's a port, it doesn't matter. So we can use those as a port instead of buying some port. And if we haven't got enough, I've got the juice that I squeezed out of the fruit from my friends gave me from the fruit infused gin. So the excess fruit, the fruit that came out of the infused gin, there was still a little bit of liquid in it. I squeezed it out to get rid of it, and I'm going to use it for in something else. But I thought I'm not going to waste that juice from the fruit, so it's like a fruity, ginny juice. So we're going to use some things up. So it's not really a Cumberland sauce, but it's also but it's going to be really nice, and it'll what we call it, and it's a way of kind of using things up. So if you've got half a jar of this and half a jar of that, and you're kind of thinking, we're never going to use that bit of this and that bit of that, and we've got some things left over. So the basic recipe is 4 tablespoons of Cumberland sauce, 4 tablespoons of port, 1 lemon, 1 orange, juice and zest, teaspoon of dried mustard powder, and 1 teaspoon of dried ginger. So I kind of need to, I'll work my way through it. So we kind of need to work out what a tablespoon is and how much a tablespoon weighs. That tablespoon's not going to go in there. That's no good. So I need to work out first of all what a tablespoon is. So a tablespoon of, turn that on, and then we'll kind of get an idea. It's going to be a bit of a stop and start video, so I reckon that's about a tablespoon. So that weighs, fingers, doesn't matter. It's got some rind in that. I'm going to puree up the thingamajig anyway. So that's about 70 grams. So 2, 3, and then if we do 4, we'll know how much there is. I need to add a bit of, I can do it that way. So once I've got the idea of 4 tablespoons, like an average, because they're going to be slightly different, the tablespoons in weight. So, but if we weigh 4 tablespoons, then we'll get a better idea of what 4 tablespoons weighs rather than 1. So it's come at 280, so that is about 70 grams of the base of what we're going to use to start off with. So I will go through the rest of the jars, work out how much we've got from the odds and sods jars, and then we'll be back at that stage when I have worked out how much orange we need and how much lemon we need and how much port we need, and then we'll kind of be at that stage, because you don't need to see me. I do enough, chatting over videos, and I just kind of think it must get a bit boring. But anyway, and you want to get to the good stuff, which I'm not doing because I'm still talking. I'll stop. Right, we're at a stage of me doing some more stuff. So I've worked out that with all the jars of odds and sods that I've got about 4 times the recipe. So, oh yes, and I also need to say now how much juice. Oh yes, so it was like 4 lemons, 4 oranges, juice and zest of both, 4 teaspoons of ginger and 4 teaspoons of mustard, 4 tablespoons per recipe. This is, oh yeah, and then 4 times by 4, which is 16, so 16 tablespoons worth of port, and a little bit of that to top it up. And then so the lemons, the tomato juice was about 150 milliliters. Orange juice, we've got about 500 milliliters, and the port, there was about 300 milliliters. There's 8 grams of mustard, which is 4 teaspoons of 4 teaspoons of ginger. I'm stuttering my words. I'm trying to do things. And then it's 4 teaspoons of dried mustard powder. So that was 8. Oh, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll just deduct 8 off. 1, 2, 8. That was definitely 4. So 8 off that is 23 grams, 24 grams of dried mustard powder. I don't know why the ginger weighs more than the mustard powder. That's kind of quite strange. So that goes into the wash, and then I have heated up the port and the lemon juice just so that I can rinse out these jars of because there's little bits still in there. I don't want to waste that, and you've got to clean it out anyway, so you might as well clean it out with the port. So it's just a case of adding a bit of the port, all the hot orange juice, all the lemon juice, putting the lid back on carefully because it wants to sometimes explode. Give it a bit of a shake up, and then you get rid of all that cranberry or whatever you're using from the side. So just repeat this, rinse and repeat with all the rest of these jars. But if we don't like waste, that's that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reduce all the juice down, but we're not just at that stage yet. So they can stay out of the way. I will do that in a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the orange juice. I'm going to add that to the mustard powder, just to make it liquid, because we're going to be adding this to the sauce later on. So I just want it to be a little bit more loose, because when you can't add powders to things without them wanting to form clumps. So if we just add a little bit of the juice to there, then it will just make it mix in a lot easier. So that into there like that. Might just add a little bit more juice later on, because the liquid will absorb into some of the powder. This is always kind of what happens. And then we've got the, I don't know why I did it that way around. Maybe we should do it that way around. We'll turn the board around. I'm running out of space. And I've cleaned the kitchen today, and now I'm just making a mess of it. I really should have waited until I'd cleaned the kitchen. But anyway, and we just need to roughly chop up the zest, because we don't want long strands of zest in with our sauce. So that's that. I really should be reducing those liquids down. But anyway, so just give this a chop. Scrape out the excess bits from there as well. Like that. We don't want to waste anything. We put the work in, we don't want to waste it, so just give it a quick chopping through, so it's all, you don't get long strands of zest in with the sauce, because it's not particularly nice. We want the flavour, we want a little bit of zest, but no like long strands. So I'm now going to reduce the port. Something's boiling over. I'm now going to reduce the port, and I'm going to reduce the orange juice as well, so we reduce the volume of it, because we're not going to be able to make a particularly good sauce. It's going to be a very watery Cumberland sauce if we don't reduce these down. So we just reduce them down to evaporate off some of the liquid, the water. We'll be left with the concentrated orange juice and lemon juice flavours, and the concentrated port flavours. And then we're going to add the solid jelly stuff, Cumberland, and the marmalade and the fig and all the kind of other stuff. Reduce that down so it becomes nice consistency, and then we're going to mix in the mustard and ginger and the zest. We'll bring it back up to the boil, and then we'll put it in some jars. So we'll be at another stage when we come back, but you don't kind of need to see me reducing things down, because it's a bit boring and it takes a while, you know. So, the port and the orange juice and the lemon juice has reduced down and concentrated in flavour. So we just evaporated off all the excess water. Now I don't want to evaporate it more than that because then becomes a danger that it's going to burn. So, but I'm also kind of quite aware that I need to evaporate some of that liquid off there because I don't think that's just going to be as solid as I would have liked. Let's just give that a quick mix over. No, I think we need to boil that up, not boil it up, but heat that up as well and then evaporate off some of the liquid. So I just don't want to take that too far down, otherwise it will start to catch on the bottom of the pan. So we'll put that in there, like that. Not sure how it's going to turn out after I put the pomegranate molasses in. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I have every confidence. So just get a spatula, just get all the liquid out, and then we're going to give it a good boil. Well, strong simmer, and then that'll get rid of some more of the liquid, and we'll have a thicker sauce, jelly, jam, chutney. It's called sauce, but I don't know. So we'll bring that up to temperature. It's a little bit, it's going to have some bits in it, but I don't mind that because I'm going to put the hand blender in it and then it'll thin that down a little bit. It's going to be a little bit grainy with a little bit of texture to it because of the zest. I put the zest in there as well. So we kind of need to think about making that a lot thicker because we've got that to put in as well. So we'll see how we go. Actually, got a little bit of pectin left over from the I don't know what we call it, from the apples that I made apple juice. So I've got a little bit of that pectin left over. So I might just put that in as well. So how can we put that pectin in without it? You don't have to do this. We'll just put that little bit of pectin in, we'll mix that in. Mix that. Might as well use up that bit of pectin as well. So it's a complete odds and sods. Yeah, that can go in. That'll boil into that. That's one last thing in the cupboard as well. I don't think I've got any packets of pectin in the cupboard. I might have. We might have a packet of pectin as well. Yeah, you don't need, if you're just using the red currant jelly, you don't really need to add any pectin or reduce it down too much. But it's just that the pomegranate molasses was a little bit thinner than the rest of the stuff I added, so we just need to evaporate off some of that liquid and give it a good boil. I might put a packet of pectin in as well. Let's see if we've got some pectin. I think I have. Will it be in the cupboard somewhere? No. If I've got some. If I haven't. I'm not on board. No. Haven't found something? No. Is it on the inside? Interesting. I'm talking. I should actually be doing something. Ah! I have that pectin. I'm gonna doubly make sure that it's going to set properly by putting this pectin in. So I'm going to mix it in. We'll do that now. That's going to be plenty of pectin. So mix that in there. More. This really is me winging it completely. Give me a nice colour anyway. So let's get that in. Maybe we should whisk that in. Turn that down a little bit. I don't want it boiling too much. There's always a danger that things are going to start burning, which is not what we want. I might put the blender in early. Let's whisk that in. All the people who make jam are absolutely beside themselves at the moment. I'm doing such a thing and doing it the wrong way around. But never been one for following rules. Certainly don't like being told what to do. Yeah, we'll boil that. That'll boil well in. We're going to put the blender in, it'll be fine. I have every confidence in myself. Make a mess of the kitchen. Right, so I've just cleaned the kitchen. There was a mess everywhere. So doesn't want to be boiling any more than that. We'll evaporate off some of that liquid. It becomes thicker, and then we'll add that. But I won't just add that. We'll get to the stage of that being ready before I add that, and we can show it on film. So it has boiled. It has reduced. It looks like it's going to thicken up nicely. Does that? Just by my professional eye. So I don't want to boil it any more than that. I think it'll be good. I think it looks nice and shiny as well. However, when we add this powder, these powders with this little liquid, it's not going to be as shiny. I also pureed it up as well. Put the hand blender in just to give it a bit of a so it's a little bit more smooth. I don't even think that's a word. Anyway, so ginger, mustard powder, and Zest in. Give it a mix round. We'll just bring it up to temperature, just so if there was any yeast in the orange juice or anything like that, just to kind of kill the yeast, because we don't want any kind of fermentation. Although to be honest, I think the mustard and the ginger would kill any natural yeast that's formed in the that was in the orange. But just to make sure, we'll just kind of give it that boil up, just to get everything to temperature, just to kind of kill anything. And then sterilise the jars. They're nice and clean, so sterilise the jars, and then we'll get an idea of how much kind of yield we're going to get. So I'll do the proper recipe in the description, just with the 4 tablespoons worth of red currant jelly and all the ingredients for that, and then also the kind of the weights of everything as well, rather than just tablespoons and teaspoons, because I don't think they're that much of an accurate kind of measurement. So if we've got both, that just makes things a little bit easier, doesn't it? Yeah, so sterilise the jars, sterilise the lids as well, just in some boiling water, and then we'll kind of see what you kind of we're going to get. That's enough. So could do with a spatula. Is it clean? It is now. Now, carefully, because this is a hot liquid, and it's a hot jars as well, so it's going to be fine. And then just pour in, not all the way to the top, because we can always add a little bit more. So we'll fill these. Obviously, doing it over in front of the camera. Yeah, that might be a bit too full. Nope, okay. So we'll keep going. I don't know what measurement these jars are, but 500 milliliters? No. 500 gram jars? I'll work it out. I'll do a proper recipe. And then it's there for me as well. So it looks like we're going to get 4.5 jars, something like that. A bit more in that one. A bit more in that one. And then, too much for one jar. No, let's going to be too much. We might squeeze the rest of it in all these jars, a bit more in that one. I'm sure, and I do know this is kind of quite boring to watch, but I'm not going to turn the camera off. Oh, it looks like it's already gone nice and thick. So if you can see here, we can see that it's all gone very, you see that's all gone jammy around the side. So I think that's a good sign. So it should set up really well. It needs to, it's the kind of thing you want for Christmas, but you need to make, it's, I've made it with all the leftover stuff from Christmas, so it needs a good couple of months to mature. It's even nicer after a year, if I'm honest. All the flavours tend to mellow together, and then making a mess of everything. A bit in the top of that, bit in that. Yeah, it's going to be nice and thick as that. Probably didn't need the pectin, but why not, eh? That. Dare use my finger, that'll be fine. So that there, that there, 4 of those jars, and then pick out some uniform lids, so that fits in with my OCD and making things look nice. So, lid on, let them cool, and then they should seal themselves. Ooh, that's hot. It's never not going to be hot, but screw them tight. Should nicely seal themselves and be in the cupboard for whenever I need some Cumberland sauce. There we go. Yeah, there'll be a bit more video when they've cooled completely tomorrow morning. We'll have a look, see how they've set, they've become, and if the lids have actually pushed themselves in and become sealed. What does that taste like? Very nice. Right, it's overnight now, so they have all sealed themselves, and they look pretty thick in there as well. So there's no movement of the. There's a little bit of movement, but there you go. That's successful. It'll be nice now. It'll be nicer in a month's time. It'll be nicer in 6 months' time. So that's it. So that's an odds and sods Cumberland sauce. You're supposed to make it with red currant jelly, like I said a few times, but you can basically use the recipe to use up what you've got around the house. I'd even say that you could use cheap jam. So I use cheap jam for cooking. If I'm making jam sponge, things like that, it's alright. I wouldn't put it on my toast, but it's alright. It's alright. But if you had half a jar of that, you could use it in there as well. So anything like that. I'll make a list of things that I think that kind of be suitable. If you didn't have, or if you wanted to make more, so you had to buy some red currant jelly and then you kind of wanted to top it up with other things that you had around the house. I'll make a list in the description of the proper recipe and all the extra things that you can put into it, like substitutes, that kind of stuff. But it's delicious, and if you want to make it and give it away as gifts, there you go.